Hello and welcome to another episode of Custode Central. Today we're going to do a bit of a mini deep dive into Forgefiend and we're going to do a bit of math hammer to see how much damage you should expect to face when one of these guys shoots you from the other side of the board. So let's have a quick look at the unit card for the Forgefiend. They're movement 8, they're T10, 3+, 5+ invul, 6 leadership and 3 OC. They're typically going to be, towards the back of the table if they're the Nurgle version, so that they can use the you can't shoot me outside of 12, or they might be basically only as far forward as they need to cover various objectives with the terrain, right? So they can kind of continuously have lanes of fire onto objectives while being kind of out of charge range. You'll notice here that they can take, well, you can't see it on this card, but basically every Forgefiend that you're going to see in competitive, they're going to take 3 ectoplasma cannons. So these are D3 shots, but they're going to have blasts. So typically, in your squad size of like 6 or 7, they're going to be getting 9 shots per Forgefiend. If you're running a very big brick, they're going to be getting 12 shots. And if if you get whittled down to 4 or below, you're going to just be taking 6 shots per Forgefiend. But you'll notice these are strength 10, -3, so they don't care if you're in cover, you're just on your 4-ups, and they've got flat 3 damage, which is obviously an extremely efficient profile into your Custodes, unless you were able to, pop Wouldn't Feel No Pain or -1 damage with Arcane Genetic Alchemy. They've also got Dark Pacts, so this can give them exploding 6s or lethal hits. They just take a leadership test, and if they fail it, then they take these 3 mortal wounds, but typically they'll be doing this every single turn because it's just a massive efficiency boost for them. It's not relevant to you guys, but they can effectively overcharge their guns, so they get dev wounds, but they have to take hazardous tests. This isn't beneficial for the Chaos Space Marine player versus Custodes because we have a 4-up versus mortals anyway, and it just makes them efficiently kind of killing your models not as good. This can come back into play once you're doing stuff like popping Arcane Genetic Alchemy or the Fiona Pen of the Wardens, so that damage doesn't get wasted potentially. But yeah, typically it's not something that you're not gonna see. So what else to consider? They're gonna have 3 of these. This is what the Dark Pact does. They pick one, leadership tests, and if they fail, they take the 3 mortals. Now, the Nurgle versions, when they go for the Dark Pact for sustained 1, they actually get sustained 1 on 5+ to hit. This is quite a brutal increase in their efficiency. The Chaos Undivided versions, they get reroll 1s to hit natively. Profane Zeal is a very strong stratagem for Chaos Space Marines. They get, for 1 CP, they get to reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. But if you're Chaos Undivided, you get to reroll all hit and all wound rerolls. This is very, very big. Additionally, Dark Obscuration, I think I only ever see this used on Nurgle units, and basically it means when you're selected as the target of a shooting attack, you can only be shot if you're within 12. This does mean that you get to reallocate your target, but don't position yourself so that you can only see 1 Nurgle Forgefiend and end up not being able to shoot anything, because that would be pretty sad. So let's do a bit of math hammer summary here. Nurgle Forgefiends, assuming they Dark Pacts and they pick the exploding 5s, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you what the slides are, because I don't think anybody really cares about the math. They just want to see the outputs at the end, right? So this is Nurgle Forgefiend with exploding 5s, with and without Profane Zeal. This is Nurgle Forgefiends with lethal hits. And you'll notice this is just always worse than exploding 5s. The Undivided Forgefiend with exploding 6s. And the Undivided Forgefiend with lethal hits. And you'll notice again, this is, unless you're into Wardens specifically, it's just worse than exploding 5s. So let's look at the summary table here. So this is the top column. This is Guardians or Alloros, less than 5s, i.e. not getting the blast. You're getting blast 1. Here you're getting blast 2. And this is under 5 Wardens, where you're not getting blast. And this is 5+ Wardens, where you're getting blast 1. Right? So N here is Nurgle, 5+ is the exploding 5s, L is lethal, PZ is Profane Zeal. So the numbers are kind of close together, but there are some really easy takeaways that you can get from this. One is that basically Chaos Undivided Exploding 6's Profane Zeal is by far your most efficient kind of platform. So remember, you're going to be using Profane Zeal on probably one of these Forgefiends if you get a really good target. If you know, as a Chaos Space Marine player, if that's you, this is the one to stick all the strats on, right? The other thing that's maybe intuitive for some of you, maybe not, is you should never pick lethal hits versus exploding 5s or exploding 6s versus Custodes infantry, right? And the only exception to that is if you're doing undivided lethal hits versus undivided exploding 6s versus wardens specifically. For every other case scenario, exploding hits is better than lethal hits, and it's just basically a function of your wound roll just isn't that bad, right? You're either wounding on 3s, or you're wounding on 3s rerolling 1s, or you're wounding on 4s, or you're wounding on 4s rerolling 1s, right? Or you're rerolling all wounds. It's just not worth like the lethal hits just typically isn't as good as just having more hits that you get a decent conversion on. So what is the summary for this? Yeah, the undivided 6+ exploding with Profane Zeal is your most efficient output. That's not terribly surprising because you get to reroll all hits and all wounds, and you're getting exploding 6s. This is like more than 100% conversion. Exploding hits is always better than lethal hits with or without Profane Zeal. The only exception is precisely undivided with no Profane Zeal versus wardens. That's the only exception, and in fact, it's not even that big of a discrepancy, right? So, you know, if you didn't want to learn like a matrix for what's the best thing that you should do in terms of picking your dark pack, you should just think, you know, exploding hits is just always better, and that's what you should do versus Custodes infantry. Fishing for lethals by rerolling all hits with Profane Zeal is a massive waste of your time. Basically, with Profane Zeal, your wound roll is just too good for a conversion to risk having a bunch of misses by fishing for 6s on lethals. Target the shield captain unit first to force them to use Arcane Genetic Alchemy for the -1 damage. This is just so that otherwise, you know, you would shoot a unit, they pop the strat for -1 damage, then you shoot another unit that has the shield captain in it, they repeat the stratagem for free. This is giving the Custode player way too much value. So always, in terms of ordering for shooting targets, always shoot the shield captain first to make them pop the strat for free. I mean, they'll pop the strat for free, but it will stop them being able to pop the strat a second time for free on another unit. And then another thing is, it's a bit, you know, it depends on the board state, etc. But generally, try and focus down a unit instead of changing targets after they apply buffs, right? You might think, oh, I want to shoot this target, bait out a buff, and then shoot another target so that you're more efficient into it. Sometimes, yes, that's okay. Other times what will end up happening is you end up doing chip damage to 2 units, and then they resurrect the model from each unit, depending on, you know, where the shield captain is. They gain movement. You haven't done as much kind of permanent damage to the unit, and now they're further up the board. They're still combat effective, potentially, and you end up in a bad spot. So it might be better off as a CSM player to focus fire your units and to, you know, to kind of kill it or make it combat ineffective. Then try and be the most efficient into your shots, because you have to remember, you know, Custodes can res guys in their command phase. And summary for the Custodes players is shields are extremely, extremely useful, right? So this is why I've been saying always in a unit of 5, take, you know, minimum 1 Vexilla. I don't think I take more than 1 in a 5-man. And that's why in my 9-mans I take the Vexilla with a shield and 2 shield guys, right? And the reason is having these shields allows you to tank these shots and not have guys be one-shot by a failed armor save. And what does this mean? It means you don't have to pop Arcane Genetic Alchemy on a unit, right? The Forgefiend output can be very swingy, but being able, you know, if you had 2 shields, if you had 3 shields in a 9-man squad or a 10-man squad, you can take 6 failed saves, right? That's just only going to kill the shield guys, and you didn't have to spend any CP on that unit, right? This is very, very flexible. Wardens using AG8 and Feel No Pain together is very, very, very good damage reduction versus Forgefiends, right? And the reason is the damage 3 goes to damage 2. With the Feel No Pain, it's, you know, it averages up to 1 damage per failed save. You can take that. That's fine all day long for you. Unsurprising, because, you know, -1 damage and Feel No Pain is a very strong, especially with -1 to win. It's just a very, very, very durable unit. in terms of absorbing damage. The other thing is, if you do have to expose multiple units, typically you will have to have a turn when you do this, right? Try and spread the buffs out to bait split firing. This is like the inverse of the advice to the CSM player, which is try and focus units down. So for example, if you have 2 units being exposed, start off with your wooden squad if you think, it's a worthwhile target for them to shoot. And then if they shoot the other unit because you put the feeling pen on the warden squad, now you can pop AGA. And this is better than, super buffing 1 unit and then having nothing to spread onto your other unit. And then again, if they do split fire, you can resurrect models, gain movement, and you're still hopefully combat effective. In terms of the Caladius, this is a very good unit to have in the CSM matchup purely because you can't really afford to have a Forgefiend shooting you all game long. It's just too much damage, right? They'll force you to spend too much CP on defensive strats, and eventually you run out of CP, and when the CP runs out, the fun stops. When you've run out of shields, and you've run out of CP, and you're just losing models per unsaved wounds, like your army really disappears very, very quickly. So, do a bit of math. Caladius, you got 4 shots, you're hitting on 2s, you're wounding on 3s re-rolling, they're saving a third of them because you're minus, they're 3+, 5+. Even if they're in cover, you're putting them onto the 5+ anyway, you're getting 2/3 of that through. On average, you're doing 5.5 per with D6 +2. So you're going to get like just under 11 wounds off just with the blaze cannon. Obviously, this isn't going to kill a Forgefiend on average. In reality, you're either probably going to kill it in 1 shot or you're going to leave it on like half wounds versus the exact average. The main part is how do you do on your hit roll, right? If you fail to hit 2 of them or something, then you're not really going to kill it. But on the other side, you've still got your Lastrum Bolter that you can try and chip wounds off. You've got some spear shooting if you're in range, or they don't do the Dark Obscuration because they're Nurgle. Or they could even just fail a Dark Pact. They're not going to be taking the hazardous playing into Custodes. I don't think. I just don't see it. So the fact that my point is the fact that 1 Caladius doesn't exactly one shot a Forgefiend isn't the end of the world. You're setting it up so that you can get one. You just can't have 2 or 3 of them shooting all game just completely with impunity from the back line. If they get a good line of sight onto an objective, let's say the terrain exists that covers the objective, but they can find an angle that they can shoot you on either side of it. This is no good. Anyway, hopefully that's been useful. I'm going to go back to this page here so the Custodian players can have a look at how many failed saves should I be expecting versus the profile. So just remember, you're only going to have 1 Forgefiend using the Profane Zeal, so the other ones are going to be using the other profile. But you can kind of see that between Nurgle and Chaos Undivided, it doesn't make that much difference if they're not using Profane Zeal, right? And these are the kind of numbers that you should try and have in your mind. This is the failed saves that you're typically going to have. So these are the flat 3. So you use AGA, it mitigates it a lot significantly, and you can also see here having the shields helps a lot because now you don't need to use AGA, right? Or your unit that has the shields doesn't need to use AGA, and then the other unit that's run out of shields want to use the AGA, right? You can't be afford to be losing this many models per unsaved. It's just way too much, just way too much. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications for the channel if you haven't already done so and you like the content here. Click the join button if you want to contribute to the channel. Join the Patreon if you want to contribite to the channel. There's nothing special you get for it other than, you feel good about supporting your content creator and you kind of encourage me to make more videos with my spare time instead of other stuff. Anyway, hopefully that's been super helpful and we'll see you guys next time.